Hey. So, long time no see. I don't think you've seen my forest here in a long time. And you haven't seen me live in a while. And I'm going to speak about why that is the case. And just going to give you a little update, and hopefully we'll have a good time. As you might be aware, it's a school holiday here in Sweden and, many parts of the world. And that means I really want to take the opportunity to get some quality time with my family and my two daughters. And I think that comes with age and hopefully insights as well. I just come to realize that the only thing that really, matters in life is creating these memories, memories with your loved ones, and basically any good memory you have and which you'd like to revive, you should think, well, I'm still alive, so I can create a new one, I can't relive the old one. Usually if you try to recreate or relive an old memory, that usually fails. But you can create new ones. And that's really what my priority has been. So I've been kind of working half days, creating content, music, half days, and then the other half of the day I would prepare for some kind of usually outdoors activity for with my kids. My wife is not that keen on going outside, so it's rare we get to take her with us, but that's a good thing because the kayak I have is inflatable and it really can take 2 or 3 grown-ups. So me and my 15-year-old daughter and my 10-year-old daughter, that's pretty much as it can take. So I've been using that inflatable kayak a lot. Really good investment. It's a better kayak. It has 3 air chambers. I think it's made by Advanced Elements. You see a lot of people in these cheap stand-up paddle boards, and that's all good, but I would never take a longer trip with that. That can be really dangerous. It can be dangerous anyway, especially what we did yesterday. We went out for 7 hours in the Stockholm archipelago. Of course, I chose areas that I know would be, fairly secure from strong winds, but you can never be sure about that. So that was actually a pretty intense trip we did yesterday. I was pretty much paddling for most of those 7 hours. I just had my 15-year-old daughter with me, and she likes to go out surprisingly much. I don't know why, but I'm not really kind of forcing her to do the paddling. So she just gets to sit there and enjoy the fantastic Stockholm, Sweden archipelago, and I do the paddling. So, but again, it's all about creating memories, and I just feel privileged to have that kind of relation with my daughter. I would never have thought that I could have such a good relation with a 15-year-old daughter. I didn't have a good relation with my parents when I was 15 years old. I think most people don't really have, that strong of a relation. So if that means I'm going to have to do the paddling, no problem at all. She gets to sit and enjoy the weather. I'm fine with that. Cool, we got Desmond here. Awesome, man. How you doing? It is a beautiful day. It's actually a great day for going outside here because it's not too warm. If it's a warm summer day and you go out here, you really can't keep up for too long. You just have to go swim or something. Go hide from the sun. So yeah, Desmond, I was just speaking about how I'm spending my time this summer, and kind of semi-apologizing for not being as present as I would like to have been. But I think it really all in the end, it connects, you know, the personal parts and the musical parts, because you know, I really can't focus on the guitar and creating cool content if I also feel that I missed out on a personal level. So that's why you got to be really careful with the priorities. So so I find that for me it seems to be the best option to kind of work half time the whole summer. I don't really get my kids out, you know, the whole day for kayaking or whatever. It's usually just like an afternoon thing, and so that works well. And I've also come to realize you don't have to go. Yeah, I will, Desmond. Thank you, man. So I realize you don't have to go, you know, that far. I think there's a bit of a, I don't know, like a, people have this issue with being at home, like doing staycations, you know, especially my generation. It's like you have to go abroad or you have to go away during vacation. And I mean, if you live in Sweden, that's kind of silly, because I mean, you could spend just a fraction of that money on like doing day trips, and you would get so much value for that. You know, maybe just I don't know. I rented a car for 1 week, but you just get out there, do daily excursions, and there's so much to see and do in the nearby here. You really don't have to take, you know, fly to some other place. So I find that not only is that a cheaper way to get around, but it's also you lose less of, you know, all the planning and all the stress around traveling at a far distance. That can kind of suck out the positive juice out of those memories. So I'm not necessarily a big fan of those mega trips, you know. But to each his own, of course. I mean, if that's what you want to do, if that's how you want to spend your time and money, that's fine. But to me, I've just, and it's even on a micro level, I've come to realize that instead of taking the car like 3 hours here in Stockholm, I could be a bit more creative and, you know, take the car for 1 hour and then, you know, throw a couple of bikes in the car and just, you know, you can find new places and just, yeah, it's I like that. I think it's I'm maturing into a more of a like a local experience here, and I'm really digging it. Plus we have the issue with weather and heat. I mean, as the weather getting warmer, traditionally we Swedes, we've always traveled to warmer places, right? But these days you don't know if summer here in Sweden is going to be just as warm as the old summers in Greece, you know. That hasn't been the case this particular summer, but yeah. So yeah, that's as far as my family activities this summer, and it's soon going to be over. It's just roughly a little more than 2 weeks left, and then school starts again, and I'm going to fall back into my usual routine and hopefully do many more of these. I also want to try to be creative with what I'm doing here with these live streams, because I could bring you with me and see all the stuff I'm speaking about. A lot of it is pretty standard if you're a Swede, but many Swedes, they don't realize that what we have here is actually like a vacation paradise for one, we have lots of like tourists from Europe, especially from Germany. A lot of German people who like Swedish nature, and who thinks what I'm walking in here is extremely unique and cool, and even buy summer houses here and that stuff. So I think that kind of stuff is really good to showcase in these live streams. Even if you are a Swede, you might not go out nearly as often as you should, and this could inspire you. You never know. But I'm really itching to get into, oh, look at this. We even have mushrooms now. This is actually an edible, I don't know what's called in English, sopp in Swedish, but it's not one of the tastier ones. Strävsopp it's called. So I'm not going to bring it with me. But we have found some pretty good kantareller, whatever that's called in English. The yellow ones that are so easy to pick or collect. Yeah, what I was going to say is that I'm kind of itching to get back into my more of a like practicing and playing routine, because the stuff I've been recorded during summer, I think it's good stuff, and it's actually in some ways it's better than the material I put out when I have more time, because when I have more time I like to challenge myself more, try maybe some fancier stuff or stuff that's challenging for me. But I figure that many times what people are really looking for is not what's challenging for me. It's something that's kind of fairly doable but still sounds like something I would play or whatever. And I've put out a lot of that, so if you haven't seen my recent stuff, you can check it out on both Patreon and GMC. And speaking about GMC, it's pretty cool. My good old friend Long from China, who is extremely skilled developer, he's helped me move to a shiny new server. So these days GMC runs on a very powerful server with a big NVMe ROM slot, and for those of you who are into that kind of thing, where we do a lot of caching of the database queries on via ROM, or so I think, and that really speeds up the experience. It's a bit like, I think that's what Google does when they cache their the searches or the search results. I think especially like 15 years ago, people were astonished of how fast they deliver their results, and I believe they were one of the pioneers in caching those search queries on ROM memory to really be able to serve it super quickly, because otherwise you would have to do like a database query, and that can take a lot of time, and it can consume a lot of computer resources if you have a lot of people doing it at the same time. Sorry for getting all technical there. But that's really cool. So we've done the switch recently. It's been a little bit shaky, but I'm going to give it a few more days, and I think I'm already starting to feel that it's much snappier and more responsive. So that's going to be very cool to just browse around the GMC site and get a direct response. So that's something that happened recently this summer, and I hope to do some more exploring with my kids these last 2 weeks, and I have spotted a few more sweet spots, so if I get the time I'm going to share them with you. Otherwise I'll go through them when I come back. But yeah, what I am itching to start doing is, of course, more of the guitar work, especially the challenging guitar work for me. That's really super intriguing, and it's a driving force in my work here, that I'm still so mesmerized by the thought of progress and just working with the guitar. It's just really something that triggers a lot of energy in my life. So I can't wait to get back to that. But that is very time consuming, so I can't just do that for 6 hours every morning. It's a thing, it's a process you do throughout the whole day, and just totally kind of live inside your guitar. It's like whatever you do, you have a part of the brain that is figuring out a guitar solution or just a musical solution. It's like, yeah, I want my next thing to sound like this, or I want my phrasing to sound like this, or I want my runs to have this kind of vibe. So it always starts with an idea, and then the implementation is super challenging. But it's within that challenge lies the secret, because you rarely ever, and I think that's valid for most people, you rarely ever achieve the exact goal that you had in mind. Instead, you're going to achieve a compromise. And what you usually don't realize until a bit later is that that compromise is usually far superior, because it's a mix of an idea you had, your creativity, but also randomness coming from your physical limitation. And that is usually a much more unpredictable and cooler results than if you're in total control. So I think the lesson to be learned here is don't be afraid of the dark. Just kidding. Don't be afraid of, attempting stuff that's way above your head. Because yeah, you're probably gonna fail. Most of us do. But just because you didn't achieve the result you initially had in mind, that doesn't mean the outcome is bad. In fact, I would say most of the good stuff I've ever done, those are like happy accidents. They're a result of failure, but not in a bad way. It took me a long time to realize that. And I don't know how many countless good recordings I've deleted just because they didn't sound the way I wanted them to. And, out of frustration, when I've tried to record something a million times and it never sounds the way I want it to, then I've been like, well, fuck it. Can't even pronounce that word. I'm just gonna keep the last version, and I'm never gonna do this again. And I'll just leave it at that. And then I come back in a few days and listen back to the latest version. It's like, whoa, that was cool. Sure, it didn't sound the way I wanted it to, but it was cool. It was different. It was fresh. And, to the point that I actually started realizing that what I did by accident was far more creative. So I would record myself, I would record my accidents, I would, give it some time to digest the material, I'd go through it, and then I'd kind of pick out the best parts, and I'd realize, hey, this is how I would want to sound consistently, on purpose. And that's, of course, extremely cool, because it's like just nature, randomness gives me something to strive for. And it's totally a product of originality. It has nothing to do with something I've borrowed from someone else. And of course, the proof is, or the evidence of that, is that I tried to place a vision I had and I failed, right? And that failure, it's not something I've stolen from anybody. And that's really intriguing to me. So that's to make a long story short, I'm just that kind of mentality is really what I'm trying to get, what I want to get back to as soon as school starts again, to really be focused on progress and have a bit of space to explore all that stuff, because I know that good stuff comes from it. I just need the time. So yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to doing. And hopefully I'll do some more of the shreddier and fancy stuff as well. That would be really fun. But in order to do that, you gotta keep a decent technical level, which is hard if you don't have the the time to put into it. I'm still practicing enough so that I haven't lost anything. But in order to record like a really high-end solo for like 40 seconds without too many mess ups and mistakes, you really have to be somewhat on the top of the game. Unless you want to play really safe, of course. If you only go for the stuff that you know really well, and that's pretty much what I've been doing the last 2 weeks now, but I've been choosing more beginner-friendly material, actually. So yeah, there's a little update as far as my playing and my own practicing goes. It's really, I think it's super important when you're teaching to also be a student yourself, because otherwise you get way too disconnected from the whole thing and you don't remember how frustrating it feels, when you fail at practicing or at learning something, and you don't really remember all the hurdles you encounter along the way. And it's very easy to get comfortable when you've spent your 20 or 30 years of practicing, and you know that you master some things. It's easy to just gravitate towards that because it's safe and you know that's going to sound good. But of course, that's inevitably going to lead you towards stagnation, and it's really a death trap, I think, as a musician. It's a common one, and in a way, if we're speaking about famous musicians, oftentimes that's really what the fans want, what they're used to hearing. But in the long run, I don't even think the fans want it. They want their favorite artists to somehow make progress. And I think that's something we can adapt, as practicing musicians, all of us. Don't just stay within your safe zone. It might feel good at first, but that's gonna, you're gonna hit a wall, and you're gonna feel like progressing is impossible if you do that. So refrain from it. Trust me, you'll thank me later. And of course, once you get into the habit of learning new material all the time, that's awesome, because that's how you get your kick. It's a bit like if you're trying to get into exercising. It can be really challenging the first 10, 20 times, but then when you get into the habit, it's addictive, and it's you feel that it really does you good and you can't live without it. I think it's the same with learning new stuff and challenging yourself. Once you get into the habit of doing that, you're going to wonder how you could ever live without it. And that's really the point you want to get to, because then you get all that progress and all that good stuff for free. If you can only get to the point where you constantly learn new things. And I think an important part of how to achieve that is really to actively think about your inspiration. You not only need a plan for your, practice routine, but you also need a plan for how you're going to be inspired to practice that routine. I often say that anyone can practice for 8 hours one day, but very few can practice for 1 hour every day, if you see my point. So in order to achieve consistency, you really gotta learn to basically know yourself and how you function, so that you can feed yourself with the kind of inspiration that keeps you going. And that can be, different from person to person, but a lot of times revisiting your old heroes, or maybe just scrolling your feed for new inspiration, new guitar videos can help. For me, I find that having a little bit of something new, or which I totally don't master in every practice session, that's really helpful. A lot of times I'll use a warm-up for playing something slowly that is really outside of my comfort zone. And that's it's like a little extra spice that keeps it interesting every session, because I never know when I'm gonna get the rewards from those new things I practice. It's like, is it gonna happen today? And sit and practice. No, maybe not. But since you're always adding those new stuff, it will eventually come. And that's, I think it's really cool. It's just a great habit, and it just works for me. Yeah, can't wait to get back to practice and start doing that. Like I've always said, if you guys want to share your progress, that's awesome, because we don't have a lot of people who are not so skilled and who dare share their progress. But since what I do is teaching, and it's basically a learning environment, all my channels here are just for people to get inspired and start learning. And some of the stuff is fancy, and it's a lot of people are just watching without learning, but the basic idea behind my channel and my content is for people to learn. So it's really cool whenever we do get some learners who want to share their progress. We do have that at GMC on the rec board. But that's of course limited to feedback only by me and some instructors. So there you can be 110% sure you won't get any of the destructive feedback. But I wouldn't be so scared of people, bashing your playing, because the reason is I've never believed in natural talent. But if you think that you're either born with it or you're not, and then someone comes and say you suck, you don't have it, then of course I can understand how your whole self-esteem starts to fall apart. But since I don't believe in that, I think that anybody can learn anything, especially as far as guitar goes. You don't even have to be young. I mean, it'd be one thing if you were trying to achieve some kind of sport or something, then yeah, body and physique would be important. But here, you can learn to play at a late age, you can learn to shred at a late age, and it really has nothing to do with whether you were born with something or not. So do share your progress, man. That's something I think we'd all benefit from. And as soon as someone is practicing any of my stuff and shares with me, I always share it as a story. Hasn't happened too much recently. Maybe that's a sign that I'm doing too much advanced content, I don't know. But I always enjoy that. It's always a good feeling when you know that some people, they take the time and they really work through your stuff. That's awesome. So that's a little update for you. I just felt it's been a long time since I haven't spoken with you face to face, and I would like to do it more often. But we have another 2-3 weeks where I won't have a whole lot of time for that, unless maybe I can squeeze in some time, in between hanging with my kids. I will see. But it's been awesome to catch up, and if you guys want to share something with me you feel I should know, just give me a shout. I'm always regularly scrolling through both PMs and messages. So I wish you really good practice time, and if you have some summer vacation, I wish you great remaining summer vacation. If you don't, just go outside in the evening. You won't regret it. Think about how you can refine your practice strategy, and then go back and do it. It'll work, trust me. Okay guys, so have a really good one. Thanks so much for tuning in with me this lovely summer day in the Swedish Tyresta forest. Have a good one. See ya. Cheers.